Okay, deep breath. Because what I'm about to tell you is going to rearrange your entire understanding of what a whale is. Forget everything you think you know about those gentle giants, those majestic filter feeders gliding through the deep blue. Wipe it clean. Because there was a time, a truly terrifying time, when whales were not just apex predators. They were the most agile, the most relentless, the most unhinged monsters the ocean had ever seen. And they looked like something ripped straight out of a nightmare, something you'd expect to see chasing pirate ships in a forgotten legend. This wasn't some lumbering leviathan. This wasn't some filter-feeding behemoth. This was a living, breathing, 60-foot-long sea serpent with teeth designed to shred. Its name? Basilosaurus. And yeah, I know, the saurus part sounds like a lizard, and that's exactly what everyone thought it was when they first started digging up its impossible bones. We're talking about a beast so bizarre, so alien to our modern understanding of whales that it literally broke the brains of the first paleontologists to lay eyes on it. They saw the vertebrae, impossibly long, like a chain of prehistoric concrete blocks, stretching out for what seemed like miles. They saw the skull, elongated and sleek, but with a mouth full of fangs that would make a T-Rex blush. And they just went, yep, that's got to be some kind of gigantic marine reptile, a true king lizard. And the name, Basilosaurus, meaning king lizard, stuck. Even after the scientific community figured out, nope, definitely not a reptile. This is 100% a whale that looked like a deep-sea dragon, a whale that moved like an eel, a whale that hunted like a wolf. This wasn't just a whale, it was a cosmic joke, a biological anomaly, a pure, unadulterated nightmare fuel that ruled the Eocene seas. Now I need you to mentally transport yourself back about 35 to 40 million years ago. The world was a greenhouse, no polar ice caps. The average global temperature was way warmer than it is today. And the oceans, they were vast, warm, shallow, and teeming with life. Think endless stretches of mangrove forests, giant seagrass beds, and a supercontinent breaking apart, forming these massive, shallow inland seas. This was the ancient Tethys Ocean, a primordial soup, and it was the perfect hunting ground for something like Basilosaurus. The water wasn't clear, sparkling blue like a postcard, no. Think murky, warm, almost syrupy, laden with the scent of decaying mangroves and sun-baked mud, with just a hint of salt. It was humid, the air thick, and beneath the surface, shadows moved in ways that would make your skin crawl. When those first fossil fragments started showing up in the southeastern United States, particularly in Louisiana and Alabama, people genuinely thought they'd found something truly reptilian. In the early 1800s, scientists were still figuring out how to classify these ancient beasts. They knew about crocodiles, they knew about snakes, they knew about fish, but something that massive, that long, with those teeth, must be a new kind of reptile. Dr. Richard Harlan, an anatomist from Philadelphia, was one of the first to describe it in the 1830s, and he named it Basilosaurus, king lizard. Perfect. Imagine the excitement, the utter confusion. Here was this creature almost 60 feet long, a slender, serpentine body with a skull that screamed predator, and it clearly spent its entire life in the water. A new type of sea monster, a truly titanic one. But then, the legendary Sir Richard Owen, the dude who coined the term dinosaur and knew his anatomy, he got his hands on some of these fossils. And he looked at the skull, he looked at the ear bones, and he said, hold up fellas, this ain't no lizard, this is a mammal. A really, really messed up mammal, but a mammal nonetheless. More specifically, a primitive whale. And thus the mighty Basilosaurus, the king lizard, was reclassified as a whale. Its scientific name should have been something like Zeuglodon, which means yoke tooth, referring to its weird double-rooted teeth. But Basilosaurus had already stuck. So we're left with a whale called king lizard, a name that is utterly, wonderfully misleading and perfectly encapsulates the bizarre nature of this creature. It's like naming a giraffe long-neck fish. It just works in its own chaotic way. Now, let's talk about the main event, the star of this nightmare show, its body. Picture this, 60 feet long. That's like a tractor-trailer truck or 4 full-size sedans lined up end to end. But here's the kicker. It wasn't thick and bulky like a modern sperm whale or a humpback. Oh no, Basilosaurus was built like a noodle, a 60-foot-long, muscular, incredibly powerful noodle. Its body was extraordinarily slender, almost eel-like or serpent-like, tapering down to a relatively small fluke at the end. This was not a whale designed for cruising the open ocean or diving to crushing depths. This was a whale designed for maneuverability, for slithering through dense underwater environments, for making quick, sudden strikes. Its vertebral column, the backbone, was the key to this serpentine movement. Modern whales have relatively short, stout vertebrae that make their bodies rigid and powerful for pushing a massive fluke through water. Basilosaurus, its vertebrae were elongated and numerous. A typical modern whale might have 50 or 60 vertebrae. Basilosaurus had over 70, sometimes even 80, many of them incredibly long, especially in the tail section. This gave its body an incredible degree of flexibility, allowing it to undulate and twist in a way that no modern whale ever could. It would move through the water with sinuous, eel-like motions, its entire body rippling and flexing. Imagine that, a 60-foot-long animal, not just swimming, but writhing through the water like a colossal sea snake.
It's truly a sight to behold in your mind's eye, a truly unique form of aquatic locomotion, perfectly adapted for the shallow, complex Eocene seas it inhabited. It could coil, it could strike, it could weave through obstacles. It was an agile hunter, not a blunt force torpedo. And then there's the head, the business end of the nightmare. The skull of Basilosaurus was long, narrow, and incredibly powerful, not a short, blunt head like a modern dolphin or a massive boxy head like a sperm whale. No, this was a sleek, hydrodynamic missile of bone and muscle, and inside that missile, a jawline packed with the most utterly brutal set of teeth you can possibly imagine for a whale. This is where it really separates itself from its modern descendants.
Most modern whales are either filter feeders with baleen plates, or they have simple conical teeth designed for grabbing slippery fish or squid. Basilosaurus, it had heterodont teeth. That means different types of teeth, just like a land predator, just like you or me. It had sharp conical incisors at the front for grabbing and puncturing. Then, behind those, it had these absolutely wild, serrated, triangular premolars and molars. These weren't for crushing bone, not primarily anyway. These were for shearing, for slicing, for tearing flesh from bone with surgical precision. It was like a pair of high-carbon steel hunting knives arranged in a long, terrifying row. What did it eat with those teeth? Everything. Seriously, everything.
But its favorite snack, its go-to meal, was other whales. Smaller, more robust whales called Dorudodon. Imagine that, a whale that actively hunted and devoured other whales. Basilosaurus was the ultimate apex predator of its time, occupying a niche that sharks, even early ancestors of the megalodon, couldn't quite touch. We have direct fossil evidence of this. Dorudodon skulls have been found with clear, unmistakable bite marks matching the unique serrated teeth of Basilosaurus. It wasn't just a scavenger, it was an active, brutal hunter, preying on its own kind, or at least its close evolutionary cousins, a literal whale eater, a serial killer of the Eocene.
It would ambush a Dorudodon, grab hold with those powerful jaws, and then simply rip chunks of flesh, muscle, and blubber from its struggling prey. It was pure, primal savagery. And speaking of its anatomy, here's a truly mind-bending detail, something that tells you exactly where whales came from. Basilosaurus had tiny, vestigial hind limbs. Yes, you heard me right. Tiny, practically useless little legs, about 2 feet long, tucked away near its pelvis. They weren't connected to the spine. They weren't used for propulsion. They probably weren't even visible from the outside unless you were really looking. But they were there, complete with a femur, tibia, fibula, and even some foot bones. This is huge.
This is direct, irrefutable evidence that whales, these masters of the ocean, once walked on land. Basilosaurus is one of the most important transitional fossils ever discovered, a critical piece in the puzzle of whale evolution, showing that these magnificent marine mammals descended from land-dwelling artiodactyls, hoofed animals not too dissimilar to ancient hippos or even small deer. It connects the dots from dog-like Pachysodus to semi-aquatic Ambulocetus, the walking whale that could still waddle on land, all the way to a fully aquatic predator like Basilosaurus. It's a fossil that screams evolution is real and it's wild. So its habitat, the Eocene Tethys Sea, not the deep, cold, nutrient-rich upwelling zones that feed modern filter feeders. No, this was a warm, relatively shallow ocean. Think Caribbean Sea meets Louisiana Bayou, but on a global scale. It was a place of immense biodiversity, with vast coral reefs, teeming fish schools, and abundant marine life. This warm, shallow environment was perfect for Basilosaurus's hunting style. It could use its serpentine body to navigate through complex underwater landscapes, around submerged islands, through dense kelp or seagrass forests, ambushing prey. Its agility, not sheer speed or diving depth, was its superpower. It wasn't built for a marathon. It was built for a lightning-fast, brutal sprint and a kill. Beyond Dorudon, what else was sharing the Eocene oceans with Basilosaurus?
Well, there were sirenians, the ancestors of manatees and dugongs, munching on seagrass.
Early sharks, like species of Carcharocles, the genus that eventually gave us Megalodon, were certainly present, but an adult Basilosaurus with its 60-foot length and powerful jaws would have been largely impervious to shark attacks. Maybe a very large shark could have taken down a juvenile, but a full-grown Basilosaurus was likely the undisputed champion of its domain. It was the top of the food chain, the alpha predator, the monster that other monsters feared. Its hunting behavior would have been a spectacle of raw power and serpentine great. Imagine a pod of Dorodon, maybe a dozen or so, cruising through a shallow channel. The water is warm, slightly murky, sunbeams piercing through the surface, creating shifting patterns on the sandy bottom. Then a disturbance.
Not a splash, not a sudden charge, but a ripple. A massive, elongated shadow detaching itself from the deeper, darker water just beyond the seagrass bed. The Basilosaurus, hidden perfectly by its camouflage in the dim light, has been stalking them. It doesn't rush, it glides, a 60-foot-long muscular coil of death. Then, with a sudden burst of power from its flexible spine, it launches itself. The water explodes. A Dorodon, maybe 15-20 feet long, is caught in its jaws, its robust skull no match for those shearing teeth. The Basilosaurus would thrash, shake, and rip, using its powerful neck and jaw muscles to tear off chunks of meat. The struggle would be brief, brutal, and utterly final.
The smaller whales would scatter in terror, leaving a cloud of churned mud and blood in their wake. This wasn't just survival, it was a demonstration of absolute tyrannical power. Now, you might be thinking, okay, a 60-foot sea serpent whale? That's literally what cryptid hunters are looking for. Is this the monster of Loch Ness? Is this the Jersey Devil of the sea? And I get it. The imagery is potent. The idea of a long-necked serpent-like creature lurking in the depths is hardwired into our collective subconscious. Basilosaurus, with its elongated body and powerful predatory nature, certainly fits the visual description of many mythical sea serpents and lake monsters. It's almost too perfect.
But here's the cold, hard scientific reality, and frankly, it's even cooler than the myth. Basilosaurus is absolutely, unequivocally extinct. It died out millions of years ago, a victim of changing climates and evolving ecosystems. There is zero evidence, not a single bone, not a single fresh bite mark, to suggest any Basilosaurus has graced our oceans for tens of millions of years. It lived its moment in the Eocene sun, dominated, and then faded, paving the way for the next wave of cetacean evolution. So no living Basilosaurus in Loch Ness or off the coast of New England. But its fossilized remains tell a story that is far more incredible and scientifically profound than any blurry photo of a lake monster.
It shows us the raw, creative power of evolution, designing an utterly unique predator for a specific time and place. Its reign wasn't forever. The Eocene epoch eventually gave way to the Oligocene, and with it significant changes in global climate and oceanography. The world cooled. The vast, shallow Tethys Sea began to shrink and deepen. Polar ice caps started to form, affecting ocean currents and nutrient distribution. This meant the once abundant shallow water prey of Basilosaurus became less common, and new, more robust, faster-swimming predators, including ancestors of modern sharks and other whale lineages, began to emerge.
The serpentine shallow water specialist Basilosaurus, for all its terrifying might, was not adapted for the new, colder, deeper, and more open ocean environments. Its long, flexible spine, while great for navigating murky shallows, was less efficient for sustained, fast swimming in the open sea. More compact, more powerful, and ultimately more adaptable whale forms began to take over, setting the stage for the filter feeders and deep divers we know today. Basilosaurus was a spectacular evolutionary detour, a peak performance machine for a very specific set of conditions, but ultimately it was a dead end. Its unique body plan, while incredible, limited its adaptability. So when you think about whales, I want you to remember Basilosaurus. Remember the 60-foot serpent whale, the absolute unit of the Eocene, the predator that ate other whales like snacks. Remember its wolf-like teeth, its eel-like body, its bizarre vestigial legs. It stands as a testament to the sheer mind-bending diversity of life that has existed on this planet. A creature so unlike anything alive today, yet so utterly perfect for its time. It was a giant, a hunter, a true sea monster, and it forces us to rethink everything we thought we knew about the gentle giants of the ocean.
It was an anomaly, a terrifying beauty, and a crucial chapter in the grand, chaotic story of life on Earth.
Its legacy isn't just a cool fossil, it's a vital piece of the puzzle, a snapshot of evolution experimenting, pushing boundaries, and creating something truly extraordinary. It's a reminder that the past wasn't just stranger than we imagine, it was stranger than we can imagine. If you thought this journey into the Eocene depths was as wild as I did, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to The Lost World, and let me know in the comments what other ancient beast keeps you up at night. Thanks for watching, and until next time on The Lost World.